Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we're speaking with Wes Hauch, a gentleman known for his work with the Faceless, Black Crown Initiate, Devin Townsend, and is currently a member of progressive death metal crew Alluvial, whose sophomore album Sarcoma comes out this week, May 28th. So grab a beer, sit back, and enjoy. Well, awesome. Once again, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. A longtime fan. I think I even saw you on tour with the Faceless years ago. The first Alluvial record was fantastic. I didn't even know that was a record of yours when it came out. First question, where's the bloody sheet? I know I had it here a second ago. Alluvial originally debuted as an instrumental band. Now you have Kevin Moeller on vocals. On vocals. At what point did you decide to bring him in and why?
It's a two-part answer. The first record was supposed to have vocals on it. There were a handful of guys that kind of were either slated to do it or ended up trying out. And nothing ever worked to a level that was satisfactory. And, you know, for as much as it was something that, I could very cheaply say had to do with just the guys that we tried out. Really, it came down to the fact that I wasn't super developed as a songwriter, and that shows in a lot of those songs. The bulk of them are over 5 minutes. I mean, there's even some 7-minute long songs, and I think that anyone who we gave the songs to would have had a hard time putting vocals over them in a way that was cogent and made them behave like songs. So that was the main thing I can pull away from it, is that and a lot of the dudes that we tried out were really great, especially in the format of their band. So it really kind of just falls on the project itself at the time, which was unfocused, and there were a lot of riffs that appeared once and sort of meandering arrangements that worked good for the time, and it functions as an instrumental guitar record for sure. And there is just despite all of that, it seemed like people really ended up getting into it with very little coercion. I mean, now we're sitting at about 50,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which is really cool. But we have, for the 3-4 years in between Sarcoma singles coming out and everything like that, the band Spotify was sitting at around 10 or 11,000 monthly listeners. And I mean, I sure didn't advertise anything about it. I wasn't talking about the band for the last few years while I was getting things in order. So people have kind of come to it uncoerced, which I guess is super cool for me because that's how I prefer it to be. To answer your question, I guess, about the vocalist, it's real simple. There were always supposed to be vocals. A friend of mine made me aware that Kevin had just left Suffocation. I kind of cold called Kevin and said, hey, man, I hear that you might be interested in doing something still. And I sent him a few of the tracks that I thought would have actually been easy to put vocals on, like Colony and Compound, some of the stuff off Deep Longing, and he liked it. And then from there, it was a process of just writing the stuff and giving it to him to sort of demo his vocals over to kind of hear how it was going to work. And it was a pretty special day when I heard it the first time. It was just like, wow, we finally arrived at the guy. And Kevin has, when it comes to like a front man for a band, he has all of the stuff that I think is magical. He He's a handsome boy. He is a outstanding performer, and he has been able to, marry that into the the energy of a person that is self-assured and has like an inability to doubt himself, and that's an important part of having a fronted band. So it was a long time. If I think about it, it was 2015 when I started kind of working on this band, and 2018 was the first time I started talking to Kevin, and I think 2019 is when we actually got his vocals down. So it's a mission, you know what I mean? It was a whole lot of just being patient, and I guess they say there's some old saying about beware the fury of a patient man, and I guess if there's anything the last 5-6 years has taught me, it's been being patient it's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to kind of sharpen that skill set. I know I gave you a fucking way longer answer than you were looking for, buddy, but I tend to do that.
I promise you that's A-okay. Have you ever considered going back to that first album and re-recording some of those songs with vocals, since that was apparently meant to have like a vocal part to it?
I think there are a handful of songs from that record that vocals would plug into easily, and I think that we probably will do that at some point, but since the focus is right now getting everyone acquainted with what the band is now, I don't think it would be a great thing to go like, hey, check out our new music, and for you guys, who've been around for a while with us, which we're super grateful for, check out these old songs. I highly doubt that we would do a full re-release of the first record with vocals on each and every song, but I think over the next few years, I could see some of those songs being released as singles in between tours, so like we could play those songs live and it wouldn't turn anyone's toenails green, right? You know what I mean? They would at least become familiar with the songs with vocals on them before we ended up playing them live.
That would probably be the smart way to do it too, because you can adjust people to it, and then maybe down the line, if people like it enough, you can be like, all right, well, let's do an EP or whatever.
Yeah, that is pretty much dead on what we're thinking. So yeah.
Would you say then that Sarcoma is a more refined and cohesive record in comparison to Longing Annihilation?
I would say, yeah, that's accurate, but I guess to, elaborate on it, yeah, it was me sort of trying to get real with myself and becoming a better songwriter, or at least heeding my intuition and examining the things that I liked about other songs that, were action packing. The truth of the matter is, for as much as I love lead guitar playing and stuff like that, and I guess over the last 10 years or so have been, the public has started to know me as like a lead guitar player. The format that I enjoy lead guitar in most is like on a action-packed 3.5-4.5 minute long song, and I like lead guitar to occur for like 30 seconds, and then it's out of there. It's like it's part of the song, but it's not the thing that I'm asking the listener to focus on entirely. And I'll put it this way. I've always thought that the band was on the conservative side, technically. It's not like a technical band. There's technical parts, but I wouldn't say that that's the mission statement for it. And there's probably more songs. There are more songs on this record that, on Sarcoma, that are, much more conservatively tech singles maybe that people haven't heard. Well, I guess you could really say that like the type of stuff that we'll always play, I think, is there's going to be an emphasis on it being pretty dark, and there will be, not that there's ever a premeditated thing that we come up with where we feel like we have to make complex or technical musical statements, but we like that stuff, and it'll probably always be part of like the mixture. But yeah, we just want to write songs that had a lot of power and conviction and had replay value, you know what I mean, to some degree. And like I said, as much as I think that The Deep Longing for Annihilation is a cool record for guitar people, I don't know that there are a lot of songs on the record that have replay value, so.
Alluvial was also originally a collaboration between you and Keith Marrow. May I ask why he's no longer a part of the band?
Yeah, it's simple. He has, for a while now, put out a lot of solo music, and has had a fair amount of success with that. And I think that the last two things that he's had done at the time when he decided to leave and focus on solo music were collaborations. He did a record with Jeff Loomis. He did the record with me for Deep Longing for Annihilation, and I think that he wanted to focus more on solo music and get back to the things that he kind of got made people aware of him in the first place, which was YouTube and these solo records. And I don't think that he was ever real interested in being a touring musician, I think he just really likes making music and making content at home. So it was a pretty quick thing after the band's first tour in 2017 that he decided that that's what he wanted to do.
I think it's turned out for the best, though, because, I mean, no disrespect to him or even the last record, but everything I've heard from Sarcoma is just a lot stronger and a lot more focused, I think. It really does feel like you've become a full-blown band. It's not just, all right, let's play some guitar, and it's pretty, and there's some drums and stuff. Some of the tracks in particular kind of blowing me away. Like, you sang lead vocals on the track 40 Stories. That was something I straight up did not expect, just from what I knew of you.
Yeah, I feel like I've answered this question like a few different times over the last few interviews I've done, so I'm going to try to put this in a way that, it doesn't sound like it is a carbon copy answer from each of these other interviews, but like, I always wanted to have some voice in the band that functioned as a melody, and I passively sang most of my life, but at one point or another when I was a kid, when I got serious about guitar, I felt that was the service that I wanted to provide. And really kind of everything about this band has been an exercise in figuring out what I can do. So 40 Stories was going to be an instrumental song. It was going to be, I don't know if you've heard the whole record, but there's another song called Sugar Paper that's fully instrumental. And I was going to, include some of that on this record for the fans of the first record, so they didn't feel like they were, missing out on, I guess, that part of the band. But 40 was going to be instrumental, and we decided to put vocals on it maybe 2.5 weeks before we turned in the record. And it was more a matter of seeing what my voice was going to sound like and how it would work, because while when I go and sit there and I play guitar or record guitar, I have a very general self-assuredness, and I know what it's going to sound like. And with my voice, I really don't know. I mean, I'm still figuring out how to sing properly. I mean, I would hesitate to call myself a vocalist yet, because I mean, I'm still in the factory right now, kind of figuring out what I can do, and definitely sharpening it to where it's repeatable and something that I can do in front of people all the time. But yeah, 40 just kind of came together, and it's odd that at the last minute it became, a song that would be a single. So thus far, it seems like it is, as far as the public's concerned, everyone seems to really like it. So I imagine that there will be more of that on the next record. But yeah, it was there's no other song on the record like 40, in that I have a song that I sing 2 verses on. There's other songs where there are choruses that I sing on, but that's really it. So yeah, I think that 40 it's different in all ways. I mean, it has it's like this slow shuffle. It has this sort of almost Soviet sort of sounding guitar part, you know what I mean? That has this maybe walking bass line. There's a lot of different stuff about it than, I guess, not that the other 2 singles have gone poorly, but 40 seems to have really kind of made anyone who was on the fence about the band, having vocals, seems like they're kind of they're over the fence now. So it's cool.
I can vouch for that, because I mean, I've been a fan since day one, but I've talked to some people when Die Underling and Ulysses came out. They were like, yeah, this is cool. I don't know how I feel just yet, but 40 Stories is, everyone I talked to is like, oh yeah, that song's incredible. And I should note, as of this recording, I looked it up, it is actually your most popular song on Spotify, so.
Yeah, I guess it goes to the top when it is getting more streams than the other songs. It might not have as many streams to date as, some of the other ones, but it's getting the most activity. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like that one maybe made people kind of sit down with their popcorn and go, okay,
yeah.
What's going on?
We need to see what's going on here.
Yeah, which is cool. I'm very grateful for it. I mean, I'm, as far as a baby band is concerned, and I really do still, I consider this to be the band's first record. We couldn't really ask for more as far as the engagement goes and sort of the raw data. I mean, if you're going to sign a record deal, you would hope that it performs well enough for the label to kind of treat you more as a priority. And I mean, I don't know much about where we're sitting in terms of pre-orders and stuff like that. I haven't asked, but everyone at the label seems to be very happy with the way things are performing. So yeah, I couldn't ask for more, dude. I really couldn't. I think we're all very grateful for how things are going.
You mentioned that you consider this your first record now. Would, with that in mind, would you say that Sarcoma is like a soft reboot of Alluvial?
I think that's fair, for sure. I would say, I would even augment that and say you could call it a hard reboot. You know what I mean? It is. There's familiar, there's certain types of there's nomenclature in it that'll be familiar to anyone who liked the first record, but it's definitely augmented by vocals, but also there's a level of artistic restraint in the arrangements and making them fit more and function more as songs. A lot of, pretty much every song has a chorus, an identifiable verse and chorus and stuff. Yeah, I'd say it's you could call it a hard reboot, and that wouldn't be inaccurate.
Is there a possibility that you would want to make another instrumental album with Alluvial or even by yourself in the future?
I would say that there's a greater chance of me making some sort of instrumental guitar record than doing it with Alluvial. I think that there's a good chance that in the future there'll be an instrumental song here and there, but we're definitely more focused on making it a 4-piece fronted band.
Mm-hmm. So this version of Alluvial is more or less here to stay then.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Have you? I mean, I know touring is weird right now because COVID and whatever. That's a whole other thing. But purely hypothetically, let's assume everything's fine. There's no disease ravaging the fucking planet right now. Is Alluvial preparing to tour? Are you ready to tour?
We have a few tours that we have confirmed. However, the likelihood of them getting rescheduled due to restrictions for COVID are super likely.
Mm-hmm.
So, to answer your question, we, in a very blanketed way, yes, we intend to tour and play the music everywhere that we can. We have a few tours confirmed right now. We're not sure when they will happen. It looks like they're all going to get rescheduled. But yeah, we definitely intend to go out and do the work. And the other part of it is, since what people don't understand is that the relationship between booking agent and promoter, at least in America, is designed on having a sum of money that allows you to be able to take a hit and allows you to be able to take risks. So, like, for instance, a booking agent might ask a promoter in a city to take hey, you got to take this tour for this show, and it's probably not going to be super well attended, but next week I'm giving you this tour that's probably going to sell out, and it's all a big drinking crowd, and you're going to make all your money back and then some. So now that there's been however long now, 15, 16 months of no shows, so no promoter has been able to stack up an additional 30, 40 grand to be able to take risks. I imagine that as touring opens back up, promoters are only going to take shows that they can rely on being profitable. And since we're a baby band that isn't proven, that no one really knows what we're going to draw, I imagine that us getting on national tours right now as a support act may be tougher than it would have been pre-COVID because of that whole the way the system's designed. So we definitely are aware of that. That's what we're up against, and rightfully so. I mean, all of the bands that are established that have been doing this for 10, 20 years or more definitely deserve to go out and boogie before promoters are willing to take a risk on a brand new band that isn't proven. But that being said, I guess our relationships previously with the bands that we've been in, there's a strong level of support where they're a lot of our friends that are in established bands are wanting to take us out. So that's definitely cool. But we know what we're up against too. So right now, the best thing that we can do is just create as much content and, I guess, stuff for people to participate on the internet, because that's where people find out about everything anyway. And kind of like, how people used to flyer shows outside of, or flyer cars outside of, fucking Metallica or King Diamond show in the 80s. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we're doing right now. The cars are on the internet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many bands that have made their career more or less on the internet within the last year and kind of using it to make up for the fact that they can't go on tour. People doing shows online and streaming stuff. The Code Orange stuff comes to mind for me, as well as like Carnifex, Whitechapel, Voivod, all doing big shows online. With that thought in mind, have you considered doing like a live stream, like playing a show maybe from your home or from some kind of studio and just playing songs with the band for people at home?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the ability to make it cool and make it something that people would want to pay for relies a lot upon your size and how much capital you have as a band. For instance, I did one last year with Devin Townsend. I played with Devin in Devin's metal band. He has kind of, at this point, two bands that are tasked with playing different stuff in his catalog. So he has like more of a prog band that has all these heavy dudes who played with Zappa, like Mike Keneally, and then there's Morgan Ogren's the drummer, and they're tasked with playing a lot of the more proggy stuff in his catalog. And then there's a metal band with me and Dirk Verburen, who has played with a ton of people, but more recently, in more recent years, he plays with Megadeth. And we did a live stream last year that was like a CGI background. I mean, it was we all did it in different cities. Liam from Dillinger Escape Plan played bass, and I guess Dirk didn't do drums for that one. He was doing a new Megadeth record. So this guy named Samus, who plays in Decrepit Birth, he's also Canadian. I think he's from the Manitoba somewhere. But yeah, it is about as killer of a production as you could ask for. And again, I'm sure that it was costly. And being a baby band, right now we don't really have the capital to make something really, really cool. But I imagine if this goes on for another year where no one can go and play, we'll probably end up having to do something like that, like some sort of live stream performance. And yeah, right now it's just kind of showing people these one-take live playthrough videos and our music videos that we're using to kind of get people involved in what we're doing, or making them aware of what we're doing, and to the extent that we can with the internet.
And how exactly did you get involved with Devin Townsend as well? Because I remember seeing bits of that stream, and it was really impressive.
He hit me up, I think, the beginning of 2020, and it was 2019. But he asked me if I'd want to play with him, and I was, of course, like, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Who would say no to that?
He explained to me what he wanted to do. Everything I described to you, that there's two different bands, and each band is kind of designed to go out and play of music that he's made with a high level of efficacy. You know what I mean? Doing it as well as it can be done. So we did. We did that 70,000 tons of metal cruise, which is like this cruise down in Florida where a whole bunch of drunk people get on a boat and watch metal bands for like 4 days, and the boat goes down to Cozumel, which is like this diving town off the coast of Mexico. And we did that. We played twice on that, and there was supposed to be a whole bunch of there was like a whole summer blocked out last year that ended up not happening for obvious reasons. But yeah, pretty much we've just stayed in contact. I've done a few things for him, played a few solos on a few things and stuff like that, and it's a trip for me because I was a pretty big strapping young lad fan. I saw him a few different times when I was younger, and going and playing like Detox or Love or Aftermath, these different songs that I definitely saw Strapping play live. It was among the fewer things that I ever thought that I would be doing, because he's publicly said over the years that he has no interest in, or he had no interest in revisiting that stuff. So I think it was, as much as it was a surprise to the public that he was going to go out and play that stuff, it was a surprise to me, and just kind of sitting there going like, wow, this is fucking really cool, but really crazy, playing a lot of these songs off of Self-Titled and Alien and City, so
yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah, it's nothing I would have expected. I mean, I remember, God, we're going back a few years, but I remember he did a tour with Between the Buried and Me, and even on that tour, he was like, a lot of the people I was talking to were like, oh yeah, a lot of the material he's playing is not nearly as heavy as some of the other stuff he's used to playing, which I was fine with because I was just like, whatever, Devin Townsend can get up there and sing ABCs for all I care. He's just so talented. But, the idea of him going back to Strapping Young Lad after all these years, that's so exciting. And I gotta say, it's especially weird to hear about a cruise in a post-COVID world. Just how cruises have been totally ravaged.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was early January, so it was.
So you would have.
It was early March when America had locked down. I was actually on tour with another band when the restrictions and sort of the shelter-in-place thing happened, and it was a super shitty time for a bunch of bands who printed up fucking 20-30 grand worth of merch and had rented like lights and done all kinds of stuff. There were a lot of bands who lost a bunch of fucking money when COVID happened. So
because I remember,
when I think about this too, I think about sometimes like the bands who kind of closed their books right before it happened, Slayer being like the biggest one. Like, they got all of these gigantic fucking farewell shows out of the way right before it hit. I mean, within like 2 months before COVID hit. That must have been a cool feeling for them, to be like, man, we really made it right before.
Oh yeah, especially because so many of these other huge metal bands are going nuts right now trying to tour. Like, Ozzy Osbourne has had to cancel or postpone tours 3 or 4 times now. Same with Judas Priest. Megadeth just scheduled another tour. We'll see if that happens. But Slayer was like, "Nah, we're good. We don't have to worry about it. See ya."
Yeah, and God bless them. I mean, they absolutely deserved to have that type of serendipitous timing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Being at it for 30 years and being as influential as they were, and being able to have everyone give them this really proper send-off is cool. I'm sure they're all very grateful.
Amazing shows, too. I saw them on the first leg of that tour when they came through with, I believe it was Lamb of God, Testament, Anthrax, and Behemoth. And it was just incredible. I have one of the most diverse crowds of anybody I've ever seen in my life, too.
Yeah, for sure.
You've played with everyone from the Faceless to Black Crown Initiate to Devin Townsend, as we just said, over the years. Was there anything you learned from these projects that you then pulled into Alluvial while you were writing and working on this album?
Musically, you mean?
Yeah, musically or like work ethic or production or anything really.
Probably. I mean, the Faceless was. I've said this in a bunch of different interviews, but like it was a band that I felt like I was playing catch up the entire time I was in it, because it was technically just as far as picking real fast and a few other things, like it was pretty outside of my skill set, but I was eager to get good at it because, or better at it, because I was such a fan of the music, and playing with them, especially on some of the more glitzy and prestigious touring that we did, was cool because I guess I met a lot of other people in other bands that I respected. So there's a component of that was maybe helpful. And when you play with different bands, and I guess you are able to just by the sheer act of being there understand how things work in terms of like from the label side and the promoter, booking agent side, and everything. I guess all of it tied together. If I had to look at everything that I've done for the last 10 years, it was probably it's definitely all educational. It would be hard for me to sit here and pick apart each thing and say why or how any of those things were like, or how they relate to Alluvial now. But I'm sure if I spent time on it, I'd probably arrive at some conclusion like that. And yeah, they're all just experiences, and my favorite part of this whole thing is playing. I like making records a lot, but playing live and just becoming a better live performer and a better live player is like my favorite part of going out and touring, because the travel part I don't enjoy.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't sound very fun.
The eating part I don't enjoy. So like the playing part is the best part of it for me.
Yeah, I remember when I was a teenager, the idea of touring always sounded cool because it's like, oh wow, you're in a new city every night and you're seeing the world. And now I'm grown up and I'm like, you'd probably only see like that city for an hour, and then you'd go to the show, and then you'd eat pizza at a gas station, and then move on to the next town. Like the traveling part of touring doesn't sound as glamorous to me now as it did when I was a teenager.
It's just it's definitely not something I'm complaining about. It's the life I chose, but yeah, it's not super comfortable travel. Although I enjoyed the travel part of it a lot more when I was younger. But I'm 38 now, and not that I feel old, but I've become much more domesticated. I enjoy my daily routine of being able to wake up and drink coffee at 6 in the morning, and then come down here and teach over Skype, and like, yeah, I've grown very accustomed to that. So I mean, for instance, me and my wife just got back from a vacation, a mini sort of like anniversary vacation. We just went and stayed with my family in
nice.
LA, and I lived out in LA for most of my adult life. I've only lived in Georgia for like the last 3.5 years, and I fucking hated it. I mean, it was just not an enjoyable experience, really. I mean, it was great seeing certain friends and seeing my family, but like, I couldn't wait to get home and get right back here and be able to play guitar and be around all my stuff and sort of, get back into the routine, teaching, and all that other stuff.
I've got one more question for you. After that, I'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time today.
No worries, man.
Considering the way where the world is right now, considering COVID's still rampaging, tours aren't really going on. Let's say purely hypothetically, you have the time to write another Alluvial album within the next year. Can fans expect another Alluvial album in the future? Or more specifically, I should say within the very near future. Because I do know that some bands have already begun work on like follow-up albums, just to kill time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I had this. I've had that in the back of my mind for a while now because it would be smartest for us to have a record out next year, because not saying that this one is a freebie, you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna. I'm not saying that this one doesn't matter, Sarcoma. I mean, but it's probably going to be a fucking year old by the time we get to go out and play it. So it would be wise of us to have new music out. So I have a few things demoed out right now for new songs, and Tim is actually coming here on Friday, our bass player, and we're doing a transcription of all the stuff on Sarcoma and kind of going to just see about working on some new music, because for two reasons. For everything that I just described, and then all of a sudden, let's just say that touring did open up and we started touring a lot, and then all of a sudden we're pressed to have a new record within a very short period of time. It would be wise of us to get a lot of stuff worked out before that happened, because the situation that would be pretty stressful if we all of a sudden just had to come up with 10 or 11 songs and have them all be good enough to be a second record.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we want to get ahead of the power curve for that. So yeah, I mean, definitely, to answer your question, we definitely plan on having a record out. I'd like to have another record out next year. I'm sure that we could have a bunch of music ready, but it would weigh heavily on what Monty and everyone at Nuclear Blast wanted to do, you know. But I tend to think that they would probably agree that it would be a smart idea to put out new music next year, because the more rocket fuel you got and the more stuff for people to participate in, the better. And I certainly feel inspired, you know, and have felt inspired to make some more music. So yeah, that's the plan.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much for your time, Wes. It has been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Thanks. And I'm sorry about these. I'm sorry about the scheduling stuff. Our publicist kind of just let me know last minute that a lot of these things, these were coming in, and it takes me about an hour in the morning to drink some coffee and get my brain working. You know, otherwise I don't know that I'd be able to answer questions accurately.
No, it's all good. I'm a pretty flexible guy. I'll be honest, maybe kind of a lazy guy in the morning sometimes too. So I certainly don't ever object to a couple minutes of time to shower, eat, and have coffee myself.
All right, bro. Well, yeah, let me know. Good talking to you, and take care up there in the great city of Toronto.
You too. You have yourself a fantastic day. Thank you again, Wes, for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out Sarcoma when it comes out at the end of the month. It's a fucking tasty-ass record, if I do say so myself. No spoilers, but it's full of tasty tech death prog metal jams. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you want to hear from me next. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.